everybody. This is David Ellefson from Dieth. Check out our new album, To Hell and Back. We are here on Heavy Radio.
Beautiful, Dave. Thanks for joining us today, brother.
Yeah, man. Good to chat.
Sure. So Dieth will release your debut album, To Hell and Back, on June the 2nd. So how are you feeling about it?
Great. You know, especially talking to people like yourself, getting some feedback from people around the world, you know. Obviously, we had a great journey making the album over the last year. And, you know, it's nice to know the record company's excited. It's nice to know that fans are excited. So, you know, it's a process, right? So the album coming out, you know, it's a great anticipation, man. I'm glad we're doing it.
Oh, tell us a bit more about the album from a musical point of view and what you're going for with it.
Well, look, I think the title kind of says a lot, right? It talks about, you know, a journey. And, you know, ironically, kind of a journey the three of us were separately on individually. And it's, you know, I was just find it funny, you know, that how the three of us were brought together to sort of unify our journey. You know, there's strength in numbers. You know, it's more fun, I think, as a musician to be in a band playing with your friends. And I think in this case, it's more fun for three strangers to become friends and become brothers to tell a unified story together. So I think lyrically, that's that part of it. Musically, you know, a theme I keep hearing is that people are excited to hear me do something so heavy, so brutal. You know, it's a step or two beyond probably what I've done in my past. So that's cool. And I like that because you know, look, I did the Lucid, which was, you know, a bit, you know, within range, but skewed maybe a little more over here. And then I've got Dieth, which is way over here, you know, and I've got Kings of Thrash, Ellefson Soto, you know, I've got other records that I've done in between. So, you know, I'm a versatile guy, you know, so I like to play a lot of different music. And so to me, Dieth, you know, represents a really cool cornerstone of a new sound for me.
And so far you've released your singles In the Hall of Hanging Serpents, To Hell and Back, and Don't Get Mad, Get Even. So overall, are they a good sonic representation of what to expect?
I think so. I mean, you know, in metal, you always lead with your heaviest, strongest songs first, you know. I think what's coming next is shows pretty cool diversity because, you know, as much as the three of us know how to do the hard and heavy stuff, you know, when you venture out of that and you start exploring, there's a couple of tracks, Walk With Me Forever, Free Us All, Severance, you know, there's some other tracks on this record that, you know, expand beyond just hitting super hard all the time, you know. So I think rather than just have 10 songs that all sound the same, you know, it was bold of us to you know, do, you know, to broaden the horizons. And I think to do it on the first album of ours is, again, it's bold, but it's the right way to do it, man, because it lets your audience know that, hey, we're not just this, we're this, you know. And I think that's the right way to do it with a debut record.
So you came out with In the Hall of Hanging Serpents as the band's first ever single mid last year. So why choose that particular song to introduce the world to Dieth?
Well, I guess probably it was the first song Guilherme had, number one.
Yeah.
And, you know, so he presented that to me. Michał had performed drums on it. And I think it was a way for us to, you know, it's kind of like a first date, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, all right, let's see how this goes. And, you know, we did it and we popped it out there on my Facebook back in July of last year. And I think it got tremendous response. And, you know, just as much leading up to it, you know, it was us just kind of getting to know each other as musicians, getting to know each other as friends, as professional contemporaries. And we felt comfortable, you know, dropping this bomb on the world and going, all right, let's see what this does, you know, because we needed to be prepared for what was behind it. Either people are going to go, what the fuck, this sucks, or they're going to go, hell yeah, this is freaking awesome, which thankfully they did. And, you know, and they wanted more. So, you know, we had to be prepared that if they wanted more, that we were going to, you know, get to work on that, which is what we're doing that. We started already exchanging some ideas back and forth. So, So I think, this largely, Serpents just kind of set the bar, and it also set the stage for us to continue working together, doing more, which now is a full-length album.
To Hell and Back is the first song on the album. It opens with a beautiful acoustic passage, mate. Like, it almost lulls people into a false sense of security before you just smash them straight in the face. What was the idea behind that?
It really is, and I my hat's off to Guilherme as the, sort of initial, and I would say kind of chief composer, right? And I say composer because, he'll take all the ideas that I send and things we put into the pile, and he's got a great sense of how to pull them out and sort of masterfully scope them into something, to really sculpt them. And I commend him because, look, the truth of it is he could write most of the shit himself. And the fact that he, is open to me composing and me writing and me partnering with him, is great. Because, initially when I started this, I played in the hall for him. And I didn't know if it was just me playing on a song for a guy and then he was just going to throw it up on YouTube and that'd be the end of it, or if it would, develop into this. So, I think probably my initial introduction to him was probably to kind of help him get back up on his feet and get going. It was a new year, it was a new sound, it was a new band, it was a new thing for him, for all of us. So in a lot of ways, I kind of started this just coming into it as a supporting cast member, best supporting actor, and so, the fact that along the way we developed this, workable partnership between the three of us and being very collaborative between us, it's beautiful. And because, we work with each other, not for each other.
And the album also features your first ever vocal performance on Walk With Me Forever. So tell us how that came about.
Well, Guilherme brought the song in, and it was, we had Free Us All sitting there, which was already a broadening of the horizons for sure for what the sound of the band was. And he was, I could tell Guilherme was kind of getting to know us and said, "Hey guys, what do you think about doing a ballad?" And I said, "Fuck yeah, man." I said, "Let's do it." Why wait till album number 3 or 4? The world moves fast these days. I said, if you have a great song, let's do it right now. I said, first of all, if it's a great song, who cares if it's heavy, a ballad, jazz, who gives a crap? Let's put it on the table and let's consider it. So I really was a great cheerleader, I think, for that. And then when he brought it in, he had the vocal demo, and I said, we step up to the mic here and maybe throw some ideas out for some melody stuff. I had no intention of singing it. I was just kind of trying to throw some different melody ideas at him. And right away, Michał and Guilherme are like, "Oh, wow, man, you're the one singing the song." And I'll tell you this much. In my mind, I'm thinking through my mind going, "Oh, my God, who can I call to sing this?" Like, what? It's like, should we get Alyssa from Arch Enemy? Should we get somebody from, wherever? I don't know. Like there's got to be somebody else who can sing this. But the truth of it is those guys, they're good friends and they're very supportive. And they said, "No, now's the time, dude. The world wants to hear you sing." It's kind of like Ace Frehley wrote songs for Kiss, but he didn't sing any of them until Shock Me, until like, album number 6 or 7, then he finally sang. They finally said, "No, we're not singing your songs. You're singing your." And so I guess this is my Ace Frehley moment right here. This is my Shock Me,
Well, have you had a chance to do it live, like a recording? It's one
in rehearsals we have. Yeah, in rehearsals we have, and it sounds cool, man. And it's fun because it's a delicate song, right? So it doesn't require just fucking pounding on it, right? It requires sentiment and placing the band around the lyric and around the vocal. And that's not something most metal bands do. Most metal bands come at you full charge, and somewhere in here we'll get the vocal to come out, But this is one where we pulled everything back to make the vocal be the centerpiece, and we really kind of, feathered the band around it, which is what the song requires, especially during the verses, so that it builds and has the proper dynamic. not just as a song, but also in context of the show with all the rest of the songs. This is this moment where your ears get a break. You kind of come up for air, and before the rest of the punishing continues, with Mark and Kane and the rest of the stuff, So, it's funny that the album kind of laid itself out like a live show. It kind of runs in a nice running order, even for the shows we're preparing for this summer.
Very cool. And the press release says Dieth represents new beginnings musically, lyrically, and for the band's members themselves. Would you agree with that?
100%. 100%. In fact, the word Dieth, when I said it, because it's kind of a made-up word, which I like. I always love bands that had made-up words, like Aerosmith, Metallica, these, they're like words that are drawn out of nowhere, and so when I said it, was with the intention of the sentence I used it in was you dieth to your old self, to kind of, the old self dies, right? And it's kind of a biblical thing, you have to die to your old self to be sort of born again, right? And we're not talking in a religious context. We're talking in a sort of close the door, not even close the door, just wrap that up and put that behind you so you can move forward with integrity and be free, just be free. So it's funny how we've got the name Dieth, and then on the record is free us all, which, is kind of a warrior creed, it's kind of a warrior song, but it's about that thing, of this pursuit and this struggle and finally victory to just be free of the things that were holding you back.
And the band comprises, and I hope I get the pronunciations of these right, but guitarist, vocalist Guilherme Miranda, and you've got, who used to be in Entombed A.D. You've got drummer Michał Łysejko from Decapitated, and yourself, so from Megadeth, of course. So, what elements from each band did you bring into Dieth?
Well, I think so. Michał, as you say it, his name is really Michael, right? I should just call him Michael. Like in an English, in America, we'd call him Michael. Over there, it's Michał because of the pronunciation in Polish, right? So, Decapitated really being kind of the reigning champions of death metal from Poland, they really took things to the, the extremes as far as precision, almost computer perfection of just everything being really freaking spot on, right? So I think, you hear that in the way Michał plays, that he's got a super great precision to his sound. He's very tight in his performances. Guilherme, Entombed A.D. had this, this kind of lo-fi sound to their guitars, this kind of big, Guilherme, he casts a big shadow, man, with his guitar. His guitars are very wide and big. His voice is very big. He comes right out of the speakers, right at you, So I think those are, and of course me, I've got a very precise, very brilliant sounding performance with my bass guitar. So I think those are kind of the elements that just came with us naturally. I think what we designed together, which is what you always hope when you're working with new musicians, and especially guys who maybe have kind of a signature sound of their own that they're bringing into the table, is how do you make these three signatures all write a new name, the name of Dieth, if you will. And I think we found that even in rehearsals now, we, because that's the telltale, right? Because you can make records selling anything these days, and then it's about getting in the room and what do you honestly sound like, that's always the thing. And even after you make a record, making an album always takes any band to a new level, because of going through that recording process, the perfecting of the parts, making them sound good together on record is an art, and it's a craft. But then when you get in the room and get onto a stage to actually perform that that composition. I like to allow a little room for even a new development to happen once you take it to the stage. And I think that's an area that we're really having fun with now, which is that everything doesn't have to be computer perfect. We don't need to be running a ton of backing tracks to make the sound thicker and bigger and fuller. It's like, let's just get up there and we've hired another guitar player to fill in because there's a lot of guitar work that needs to be done. But just so to thicken it, we hired a guitar player rather than brought in a backing track on a computer, So, because this is a very organic sound. It's a very human, relatable kind of sound. There's something very primal about it. And I think just throwing the tracks into Pro Tools and hitting the space bar on a computer, that doesn't do this justice. We need real dudes on the stage fucking locking this in and throwing it down, So that's especially like Free Us All, this kind of jazz intro, this walking bass, swing, drum part and stuff. There's moments like that are really starting to develop themselves as something pretty special for the live show.
Awesome. And can you say who that guitarist is you're going to be using at the live show?
Yeah, it's Hubert he played in Decapitated with Michał, and fantastic player, very musical, lives in Poland, which is great. This is what I find so funny, So all this shreddy stuff, it all kind of developed here in America, largely, the 80s and all this big, explosion, Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Rat and all this stuff. And then, now I noticed it really kind of the quality of stuff coming out of Canada was extremely good, exceptionally high bar. And then I started to notice, stuff coming out of like Italy, Croatia, and now I'm really starting to appreciate, of course, the Polish guys, certainly the Swedish guys. I remember when King Diamond, we did that tour with him in '86 on the P-Cells tour. And he had just brought in Mickey D and Andy LaRock, like how good the Swedes were. The Swedes were like, holy shit, man, these guys are great. So I think it's fun to discover the musicianship of musicians all around the world. And, to discover what's happening in Poland has really been a fun journey for me. These guys understand death metal and these dark tunings and all this stuff. I'm the new guy, right? I'm new to this stuff more than them. So, the education, even though my experience is pretty vast over the years with the stuff I've done in this setting, like I'm the guy catching up, to what these guys have been doing. And I think I bring a refreshing sound and a refreshing approach to it. And at the same time, they bring a sort of a knowledge and an experience to it for me that I look to them, I look to them as like, okay, what do we do here? So because they're the ones that have the experience with it.
Cool. I know this is off topic a little bit, mate, but if we don't give it a plug while we can, we're crazy. But you're going to be in Australia this July with Jeff Young, the Kings of Thrash tour, mate. So what can we expect from that?
Yeah, no, thank you for addressing that. Yeah, it's super cool, man. We were very excited to get the offer to come down and see you guys. We're super stoked. And we're, we just did a tour here in America where we played The Killing Is My Business and So Far So Good So What records in their entirety. 2 albums that I think are, maybe a little kind of the lost bastard children of the catalog. And it's a celebration of those records, introducing Chaz Leon on vocals and rhythm guitar, introducing Fred Aching on drums. We just put out Best of the West, which on Cleopatra Records, we put that out. It was a live album and DVD that we filmed at the Whiskey in Hollywood back in October. It features our special guest Chris Poland on that performance. So yeah, I think it's great. We're going to be doing 4 dates. Coming down and rattling some heads, man. I think it's going to be fun.
Awesome. I've been speaking with Jeff a little bit about this because we both had problems with the same crazy Australian woman in the past. So we've been talking a little bit about that.
I know the story. Yes.
Absolute nightmare.
So it is rock and roll. Yes,
I'll
right.
fill you in on it some more when you get here, but it's an absolute nightmare.
Well, and I'd say, to that end, man, I'm really happy to, that Jeff's back on the big stage doing this
100%.
again. After Megadeth, he went in his own directions. He changed gears. He did stuff completely different, which I thought was super admirable. But now to come back and get his due and to be lifted up and honored as the iconic guitar player that he was from those days, and that he still is, better than ever, quite honestly, is great. So I love having a new partnership with him and a new friendship with him. Kind of just picked up right where it left off, to be honest with you. We're writing some new songs together to put out, as that group continues to, work at its own pace. And so it's all good, man. I think all these things really, they have their own little time and space, and they all kind of allow space for the other one to work in my life, and for Jeff too now, which is great.
I'll be catching up with Jeff at the Brisbane show, so we shall sit down and have a beer then.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Excellent.
Well, and in the meantime, Dieth's debut album, To Hell and Back, is out on June the 2nd, and she's an absolute cracker, mate. You've done a really good job with it, bro. So congratulations and best of luck with that. And we'll see you out here in a couple of months.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, bro.
Rockin' brother. See you. Bye.